Welcome to the Brainiate Show, where we talk about all things Salesforce, sharing the coolest features, solutions, and best practices to turn you into a Salesforce rock star. Here's your host, former attorney turned Salesforce consultant and trainer, David Giller.
Hello and happy Tuesday to all of you. I hope all of you are doing well today. I am super excited to be here, especially because one of the main topic that I'm going to be focusing on today is really so incredibly important to so many people as it relates to managing your own career and how to get your career unstuck. For those of you who have not joined this live show before, I want to welcome all of you. For those who have joined before, welcome back. For those who are not able to watch us live and are watching the replay, we missed you during the live stream, but that's okay as long as you're here now. By the way, I am multi-streaming right now on several different platforms, and I don't know why, but it looks like the stream on LinkedIn is for some reason not working as expected. So I put a post on LinkedIn telling people that they should join us on YouTube. I'm streaming as well simultaneously on Twitter, on Twitch, on Facebook, etc. But either way, welcome all of you, and let's focus a little bit about our main topic for today, which is how to advance your Salesforce career. So, so many people go through, and by the way, I include myself in this category as well. So many people go through their professional career without actually having someone to help guide them, to show them or give them the best practices on how to manage their career itself. You know, I grew up with this mindset that in order to be successful in your career, you explore a particular career path that's of interest to you, something that gets you excited. You get whatever degrees or certifications necessary in order to be considered a real person, someone of significance, someone who actually knows their stuff, to at least get your foot in the door, get some hands-on experience, and by working hard and by having good work ethic, basically you do what you need to do for your job and good things will come. Good things as in promotions, more responsibility, better compensation, that will naturally come. And what I learned myself, and many of you have learned this as well, is that it doesn't always work as perfectly as what I just described. And very often there are all different kinds of twists and turns. Sometimes nothing happens at all. You do your job, you're learning a ton, you're highly respected at work, but at the same time, you just feel you're sort of stuck in a rut. You're constantly doing the same thing. No one is offering you more responsibility. Nobody is offering you a better job, and you're not really sure how to go about getting out getting out of that rut. And that's what we're focusing on today. So how to advance your Salesforce career, how to get yourself unstuck, and really how to take the appropriate corrective action for your career so that you can go in the direction that you want to go. So without further delay, let's go ahead and jump in to the topic, and I'm going to highlight some specific points, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit. Try not to bore you to tears, but give you some insights on what these things really, what I mean by some of the suggestions that I have here. So the first one is define what success means to you. Don't just turn to other people asking them, what should I do now? I can't tell you how many people reach out to me through Instagram, through LinkedIn, through Twitter, and they basically say, hey, I want to pursue a Salesforce career. I have the following certifications. What next? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the first thing about you. I don't know what you're interested in. I don't know what your prior background is. I don't know what your values are. I don't know what it is that would get you excited. So you need to be a little bit reflective first. Don't look exclusively for external definitions of where you should take your own career. If you had that magic wand, if you were able to take your career in any direction that you want, if you could dream of your perfect excuse me, perfect role, perfect career, perfect job, what would it look like? What type of company would it be for? What would your responsibilities be? What are the types of people that you would be interacting with? What do they look like? What are the kinds of things that you would be doing? What would get you really excited to get up in the morning to continue doing that type of work? And you're not really going to find that somewhere else. What you're going to, if you're looking externally, what you will find is what other options might be available, but you might think of something that nobody else has really done. And that doesn't mean it's not doable. It just means you haven't found anyone else that has done that. And you need to chart your own path. Look, I was a philosophy major. I went to law school. I'm admitted to practice law in 3 different jurisdictions. If I were to ask other people, oh, what should I do next? Nobody's going to turn to me and say, you know what? You should be a Salesforce consultant. You should be helping to train other people on how to use Salesforce as end users or how to become Salesforce admins. Nobody would ever suggest that. And by the way, that's exactly why so many people reach out to me asking me for my thoughts on that particular topic. Hey, I'm also a lawyer and I'm trying to figure out how to get into this Salesforce world. I'm happy to share what I've done, but my path for what I want to do and what I want to pursue is not necessarily the same as yours. Each person, you're all individuals. We're all unique. We have our own unique strengths and interests and passions and things that we want to be pursuing. You need to think about what really works for you. What does success look like for you? You need to know where you want to go. What is the destination that you want to take this thing that you call your career? What you need to do next is you need to figure out, okay, I know what my destination is. Now I need to figure out how am I going to get there? You need to make a plan and then follow a plan for development to figure out what are the gaps between what you have, who you know, what skills you need to master, what industries you need to become familiar with. What are the gaps between where you want to be and where you are today, and how you're going to fill those gaps. So you need to make a plan and then follow that plan for self-development so that you know where you're going, why you're going there, and what steps you need to take to get you to that ultimate destination. The next thing that you need to do is surround yourself with people who are a few steps ahead of you. Don't just, if let's say you're relatively new to the Salesforce ecosystem, you're new as a Salesforce admin, don't just surround yourself with clones of yourself. I mean, that's great to surround yourself with peers, with cohorts, with folks who are in the same stage of life of their career. That's great to have that, but you need to also surround yourself with those people that are 1 or 2 or 3 or more steps ahead of you in terms of the career path that you want to pursue. It goes back to that first bullet point that I have there. Where am I pointing? Over here? Nope. Over here. That first bullet point of defining what success means to you. That will help you identify who you need to surround yourself with, the folks that you can simply learn by watching what they're doing, by understanding their thought process, by understanding what it took for them to get to where they are. You need to surround yourself with people like that in order to help you stay on track, in order to collaborate with them, in order to gain insights from them, in order to help you achieve your goals for your own career. Next, you need to find a mentor or two. Now, you might think, isn't that exactly the same as the bullet point that I just raised a minute ago? Not really. I mean, there is overlap here. When I say surround yourself with people who are a few steps ahead, you want to keep them within your circle. That does not necessarily mean that they are your mentor. They might not realize that they are an indirect mentor, that you're trying to replicate what they are doing, that you're trying to learn a lot from them. But when I say find a mentor or two, find specific individuals that you are reaching out to, that you are proactively seeking their advice. You're trying to engage them in helping you with your specific career path. That's what I mean by finding a mentor or two. And the only way you will find who should be an appropriate mentor for you is, again, by understanding where it is that you want to be, where you are today, and what are the gaps that you need to fill in order to get there. Next, you need to reconsider how you spend your time. If you find that most of the time that you are spending is busy doing things that are not aligned with where you want to be, or the skills or experiences that you need in order to get there, then you're wasting a lot of your time. For example, if you're learning how to do Apex coding or you're learning more about building flows, but in the end, your career goal is to be a project manager. You don't need to know either of those things to be a very impressive project manager. You need to have project management skills. You need to have leadership skills, organization skills. You need to have public speaking skills. So there are a lot of things that you could be focusing on to help you get to where you need to be. So think about how you're currently spending your time and where you need to go to make sure that you're spending your time doing the appropriate things to help you get to your ultimate goal. Now, when I say attend networking events, this cannot be emphasized enough, whether it's virtual or in person. By networking with other people within the sphere of where you need to be and where you want to go. And by the way, yes, we are talking about Salesforce events, but not exclusively. So in other words, if you want to be focusing on Salesforce for the education industry, for financial services, for healthcare, don't just focus on Salesforce related events. You should also be focusing on any networking opportunities that you can find within those niche industries, within the appropriate geographic areas where you are interested to work and to focus, and with the appropriate people that you want to be interacting with, that you want to be mentoring or developing mentor relationships with, or trying to emulate. So you need to think creatively about which networking events you want to attend and start getting yourself out there, whether it's virtually or in person, in order to start meeting those people and having some significant conversations where you can learn about job opportunities, for example, that are not yet posted. They're not yet public. And you will only find out about those by talking to people. And one great way to do that is by attending network events. Pick up a skill or two. Now, I'm not talking about Trailhead, and I'm not even talking about Salesforce. People often ask me about what additional certifications they should get, or whether or not they should learn more about certain features. There's nothing wrong with getting more certifications. There is absolutely nothing wrong with learning about new features, whether it's new features that are coming out with the seasonal releases that Salesforce has, or new features of like brand new features that Salesforce, or new products that Salesforce is releasing, or maybe even old features that you simply have not had the opportunity before to explore. I'm not only talking about that, I'm talking more specifically about the other soft skills that you could be building, like like I mentioned before, public speaking, business communication, project management, being organized, how to delegate work, change management, gathering business requirements, managing the scope of projects. I could keep going on and on of all of the different skills that I think practically every Salesforce professional needs to master, myself included, by the way. I'm always learning about not only all the topics that I just mentioned, but some other topics that I'm not going to bother mentioning right now. But there are a lot of other skills besides things that involve logging into Salesforce that you need to be successful at, you need to master in order to really stand out from the crowd, in order to really stand out from the other people that you're currently working with, from other job candidates that are applying for the same jobs as you are. And you can pick up these skills from books, from YouTube videos, from Udemy, from really all over the place. Next, make yourself indispensable. Now, when I say that, do I really mean literally indispensable? Not really, because in the end, practically for any job, every manager, every business leader is thinking in the back of their head that practically everyone, themselves included, can be replaced within the organization. However, what I am talking about is positioning yourself within your current work environment so that people are turning to you for the best advice, for the appropriate guidance, for the transparent, unfiltered insights and guidance that you are giving them to achieve success for the types of projects or requests that they are asking of you. Excuse me. When I say make yourself indispensable, I don't mean that if someone asks for changes to a page layout, show how you can make the changes to the page layout the fastest way possible. No, what I'm talking about is, and I'm just using this as an example, someone comes to you asking for enhancements, can you update the page layout in the following way? Asking the appropriate questions in order to make sure that the changes that they are asking for will actually result in something better for the team, more efficiency, a more simplified navigation or screens, better visibility to certain information that they're looking for. By having those conversations, you can drill into the purpose, the goal of whatever it is that they're asking, so that perhaps you could identify better ways, more impactful ways of delivering even bigger solutions to the team that go way above and beyond simply updating a page layout. So when I say make yourself indispensable, what I really mean is position yourself within the organization as a critical resource that team members are going to turn to for the best advice, the best brainstorming sessions, the best insights on how to solve business problems. And again, I cannot say this enough, not only as it relates to logging into Salesforce, but you also need to think about those things that have nothing to do with Salesforce. I'm not suggesting give up on a Salesforce career, not whatsoever. But what I'm suggesting is that you have those conversations and position yourself in a way where you are showing the business that basically you are the translator, the liaison between Salesforce as a platform and the problems and the goals and the issues that the business is experiencing. If the business is experiencing issues with, let's say, drop off of customers, so customer retention, or a high level of customer support tickets, and the delegation of who is assigned the customer support tickets and how quickly they get resolved, have broader conversations with the team about those core issues and think creatively about how those can be explored, how they can be resolved, how you can help really solve the business problems. And even though most of your expertise is within the Salesforce platform, within the Salesforce ecosystem, the solutions that you are bringing and the conversations that you are having with your team members actually bridge the gap between Salesforce as a tool and the processes that the business is trying to execute on. And that is what's going to help make you completely indispensable to the organization, where they will definitely think twice before showing you the door to ask you to go get yourself another job. So that's what I mean by making yourself indispensable. Next, don't wait for more responsibility. Ask for it. What I mean by this is don't just sit around thinking, as I mentioned early on, don't just sit around thinking, if I do hard work, if I do what's asked of me, promotions will come. Bigger responsibilities will come. Better compensation will simply come my way. The world does not always work that way. Your manager might have good intentions, might think highly of you, but might not necessarily be thinking of doing anything actionable, proactive in the short term. And you need to take that step in order to ask for more responsibility. And by the way, even if you ask for more responsibility, let's say you're relatively new to the organization, you're relatively new to Salesforce, and you're asking for more responsibility as it relates to, let's say, project management. You want to be responsible for the project as a whole, not only for, let's say, doing data imports and for updating page layouts. You're asking to get more involved in, maybe it's the gathering of the business requirements or managing the wing-to-wing project as a whole within the organization. By simply asking for it, even if it's premature, even if your manager thinks there's no way in hell I'm going to give that to you, you are not qualified, you don't have enough experience. By asking for it, you are indicating that you are interested in getting more involved and taking on more responsibility from within the organization. And even if you are completely unqualified for that type of thing that you're asking for, it's opening the door to a conversation to get for yourself a better understanding of what skills am I missing? Why is it that you, manager, are not willing to give me those additional responsibilities? And that will help you identify the gaps of what you need to get to where you want to be. Because, for example, if your manager says, well, I can't really give you responsibility for gathering of business requirements because you don't know anything about gathering business requirements. You've had no training in gathering business requirements. You're not a business analyst. Well, okay, go and get yourself trained on that stuff. Go find some books and podcasts and YouTube videos. Look, find some courses on Udemy. Learn how to become a business analyst, how to gather business requirements. Go and get yourself, build up your skills on project management or on business communication. Find out what are those things that is preventing senior management from giving you more responsibility. Only by asking for it will you be able to engage with them in conversation. Because, by the way, if they say no, you're probably actually far better off if they say no and explain why, as opposed to you not asking or them just saying, yeah, sure, even though you're totally not qualified for it. Because if they say, yeah, sure, here, go ahead, knock yourself out, and you're not qualified, and you have no idea, because you've never had training, you have no idea how to go about taking action on it, you're being set up for failure. Honestly, you really are. And you don't want to be in that position. I would not want anyone on my team to be in that position. I would want to make sure that everyone on my team is set up for success. So if someone asks for certain responsibilities that they aren't yet at that level, I would show them and guide them and coach them on, well, here are the things that I think you need to do or need to achieve, need to learn before I feel comfortable giving you some of that additional responsibility. So it all starts with a conversation. Next out, very similar to the insights that I just shared with you, seek out feedback and apply it. Not only from your manager, from other people that you're working with, from your friends. So go ahead and start asking people what their thoughts are on the various skills that you might need in order to get to wherever it is that you want to be. And you might think very highly of yourself as a public speaker, as someone who can solve problems, as someone who is really good at gathering business requirements. Well, if you've been involved in a project that involved any of those things, go ahead and start asking the people that you worked with on those types of projects and start asking them for feedback. By the way, if you have any insights on what I could do to be better at gathering the business requirements for the project that we worked on recently, what is it that you would suggest that I do? Anything I can do to improve? Go ahead and open the door to conversation, because, and also listen to what they are saying. And not everyone is going to give you the best advice, but at least be open to hearing the feedback, the responses, because you're also basically asking for people to share their impressions. Even if there's nothing that you can do to address it, you are at least getting some transparency from other people in terms of what they think of you and your skill set and your abilities to do whatever it is that you're asking about right now. So seek out feedback and actually apply whatever feedback they're giving you. Go ahead and process it and identify what are the appropriate actions that you need to do based on the feedback that you've just heard. No, that was there before. Sorry. pick your bosses wisely. Oh God, this is so important. So very often when we are applying for a job, we have no say in who our boss is. Or we have a job and we're working hard at that job. Manager leaves, someone else is hired to replace them. Again, you have no input on who your manager is, who it is that you are reporting to. However, what I really mean by this is not so much of you're choosing who your manager is. Just like your manager is evaluating you and your skills and whether or not they still want to have you on the team and what types of projects they want to give you responsibility for and what level of compensation you're going to be at, just like your manager is evaluating you for all of those things, you should actually be thinking very carefully about your manager and whoever it is within senior management that you report into. Are they providing you with guidance and advice that you need in order to be better at your job? Are they giving you opportunities to improve your skills, to take on more responsibilities, to help you achieve, even if it's baby steps, achieve your dream job? Or alternatively, are they toxic people that you really can't stand to have any conversation with? Are they unwilling to give you more responsibilities, even though you feel quite confident that you have the skills and experience and capability to take on those responsibilities? Are they taking total credit for all of your work? Are they giving you just the lousiest of jobs, of projects that are available from within the team? Or maybe they are having you do the hard work and giving credit to other people on the team. So you need to identify some of those things. And if you find yourself in a situation where your boss is actually pretty miserable to work for, you need to figure out how to get yourself out of that situation. You need to figure out whether it's within the same organization or working at another organization entirely, what your next move is going to be. Because by staying within that framework, under that type of manager, your career is not going to go in the direction that you want it to. It's not going to get a whole lot better. Nothing magical will happen. Now, I'm speaking from experience here. There have been quite a few times within my career where I found myself working for someone that either made me cringe, or I'll take it a step further, were completely incompetent and had absolutely no idea what I was doing or the context of the work that I was doing, maybe taking credit for my work as if it was them who did it. And so not even mentioning my existence to senior management when they're talking about the type of work that I've done, not allowing me to take on other projects that I was completely qualified for. I've been in that situation many, many times, and I've done many different things to try to rectify the situation, to try to address it. Everything from speaking to their manager, seeking feedback from other people. Like, is it just me, or is this real? Like, am I imagining this situation, or is this legit? To proactively looking for another place to work. And you have many options available to you. So you should not allow yourself to be in a situation where you mentally equate your job with essentially being imprisoned. You are not imprisoned. You, especially as a Salesforce professional, there are lots of jobs out there within the Salesforce ecosystem for every type of role, every type of industry, every level of experience, from being super experienced to having no experience whatsoever. There are many, many opportunities out there within the Salesforce ecosystem to find the right job that will excite you, that is the right fit for your goals and your objectives and the kinds of things that you want to be doing for your career. So when they say pick your bosses wisely, you need to evaluate your manager the same way that your manager is evaluating you. And even though you are not necessarily in a position of control in order to give your manager the boot, show your manager the door, you do have your own 2 feet where you can take the appropriate steps necessary to take your career and your skills and the value that you bring to the organization, take it somewhere else, wherever it is that you want to take it. Next up, don't just create your network. You also actually need to develop your network. And what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is, don't just go on social media connecting with other people and having nothing of significance to say. Develop that network. You're connected to people. Well, start a conversation with them. Engage with them in conversation about the things that you share in common, whether it's industry, whether it's a particular problem that you're faced with, whether it was something that they recently shared and you have some particular insights on it. Just being connected to people and not having any interaction with them on social media is completely useless. That's why I often say when someone makes a comment to me about, let's say, the followers that I have on any social media platform, I sort of roll my eyes and shrug my shoulders. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a number. Many of those people I've had no interaction with whatsoever. I have no clue who they are. I don't know if I'm delivering anything of value to those ghost followers or stalker followers. It's those people who are engaging. It's not even about me being impressed with them. For those of you who don't know me already, I get a huge thrill out of solving problems for people and problems for organizations. When I'm sharing, even if it's something like this live stream that you're watching right now, when I'm sharing those insights from my perspective, I don't really care if I have 2 people watching on the live stream or 2,000, because so long as I am delivering value, I am helping to solve people's problems, I am helping people to take their career to the next level, then I don't even care to have that pat on the back of, thank you. I mean, it's great for me to at least know that my content is helping people. But if everyone is just radio silent, to me, that's the equivalent of I'm talking to a doorknob, and maybe I should just stop because nobody cares. So when my suggestion to you on the other side of the camera is, don't just connect with people on social media. Have meaningful interactions with them, whether it's providing feedback or insights or thoughts that you have on content that they've shared, or if it's something that you are struggling with and you think that person might be able to help point you in the right direction. Engage with them just like you would if you were sitting at a conference and that person is sitting right next to you. That person happens to be the head of Salesforce for Uber or eBay or Amazon. Are you just going to sit there silently not saying a word to them? If you are, then let's rethink that. Engage in some meaningful conversation. Don't just babble nonsense. Have some meaningful conversation with them, maybe about whatever it is that the presentation is that you're attending, or even if it's just a comment about the clothing that they're wearing. Start to have some conversation and turn it into a meaningful conversation, so that this way you're actually developing a relationship of some kind with that person. Social media makes that so incredibly easy, where you can have meaningful interactions with so many different people of different backgrounds in different roles at different organizations. And that is what can help you take your Salesforce career to the next level. That's what will help you to get your Salesforce career to go from being stuck to being unstuck. And that basically wraps up the tips that I have to share with you on this particular topic. So, without further ado, let me jump in to see if anyone has any questions. I have been making sure to look exclusively at the camera. So, question. Girish has a question here. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name properly. Okay. Daily, my mind says to learn new skills, but when it comes to implementation, meaning actually start learning, I get distracted. Don't know why. What can we do to make the learning more interesting? Girish, this is a fantastic question, and hopefully I can give you the appropriate answer for it. Okay, so recently I actually hosted a live stream where I talked specifically about this topic and different versions of this topic, which is, okay, I've learned a concept related to a particular feature or a best practice in Salesforce. How do I take it to the next level of making it meaningful? So not only how do I not get distracted, how do I actually retain it in my head? How do I turn that concept into hands-on experience that you can actually talk about during job interviews, to post online? So my recommendation here is that you should, once you learn, I'm putting the comment back up on the screen for those of you who haven't seen it or who missed it. As you learn about a particular feature, let's say, for example, Salesforce Maps. You knew nothing about the existence of Salesforce Maps until today, and you're wondering, what is Salesforce Maps? Or maybe you came across a YouTube video highlighting that Salesforce Maps is a product, and that's actually a really cool product that can help a lot of different businesses for a lot of different use cases. So you then stumble onto Trailhead, and you search on Trailhead for different content associated with Salesforce Maps, and you're learning some of it, and you're like, okay, I want to take it to the next level, and I've got so many other things to do, and how do I go about doing that? Well, all you have to do is start a free developer org that has Salesforce Maps embedded within that, installed in that developer org. Then anything that you are learning on Trailhead as it relates to using Salesforce Maps, or any use case that you see in any YouTube video or in any blog article associated with Salesforce Maps. For example, Salesforce Maps gives the ability to visually see opportunities or cases or open tasks based on geographic region, to actually visually see them on a map. So maybe I want to see all opportunities over a certain dollar amount that are sitting in a certain stage for a specific amount of time, for a long period of time, within a specific area, within, let's say, the New York City metro area. Well, what would I do? Okay, it's a great concept. That seems really cool. I answered the questions appropriately on Trailhead, but I sort of want to take it to the next level. I want to dive deeper into this. Well, if you have a developer org that has Salesforce Maps installed in it, all you have to do is start creating those records that we're talking about for the kinds of use cases that I'm talking about. Go ahead and start creating a bunch of cases, a bunch of opportunities. Make those opportunities, give them certain values that will match whatever criteria it is that you want to essentially see, and think of it as a list view, but visually on a map. Then go ahead into Salesforce Maps and plot them on a map and see how it actually works. And then you might take it to the next level by saying, okay, now what if I'm looking at all of these all of these opportunities or all of these cases within the specific geographic area, and I want to go and visit those customers on site. Well, let's go ahead and start exploring the functionality that Salesforce Maps has to create the route to visit all of those customers within a particular day or 2-day time period. So you can go ahead and build that out further. That's what's going to take it. So basically my recommendation is go into a developer org or start a brand new developer org. Take the concepts that you're learning on Trailhead or learning anywhere else in Salesforce and make them actionable. Roll up your sleeves and start implementing those features in ways that go above and beyond the content, the questions that are in Trailhead. Use your creativity, use the types of problems or business use cases or processes that you've seen at work or that you could imagine that a company might have, and go ahead and start doing it. So you're building out solutions to realistic problems, and that's giving you a much deeper understanding of how some of these features work in Salesforce. That will help keep you focused and motivated and reaching a particular goal of mastering a particular skill, and it will give you phenomenal content to start sharing with your network, online. You can create YouTube videos out of it. You can create blog articles out of it. You can talk about it during job interviews, and it becomes very impressive. If I'm talking to a candidate and the candidate says, listen, I've never had a job that uses Salesforce Maps before, but oh my God, you use Salesforce Maps? That's so cool. I'm so excited because here are the kind of stuff that I built out in my developer org purely out of my own interest in Salesforce Maps. So, a candidate like that, in my mind, goes very high in the ranking in terms of the kinds of candidates that I would consider bringing on into my organization, compared to someone who maybe has a tremendous amount of experience in Salesforce Maps, but when I talk to them about it, they are really boring to talk to, and they don't seem like they have any interest in the topic. And they say, yes, I've been working for the last 12 years in Salesforce Maps, and I've used all of the following features associated with it. That kind of candidate, you're like, okay, get out of here. I need someone that I can actually talk to. Someone who becomes alive when we start talking about some of these realistic scenarios. So that's my thought on that particular topic. Okay, we've got a bunch of other questions that have come in. So Jean, hello Jean. I want to learn new things and enjoy learning them, but I get frustrated because I feel I can never keep up with all the new stuff. When I get focused on one, another one comes along that I like. Jean, this is an incredibly common, most of us don't easily admit to, I will admit it wholeheartedly, to this scenario. It's sort of you're feeling like you can never catch up. You can never be fully at the top of your game of knowing all of the features that you need to know about, even if it's one Salesforce product. There's always new stuff that's coming out. And my recommendation is be somewhat comfortable with not knowing everything. There isn't a single employer or client, if you were to be a Salesforce consultant, who expects you to know everything. You are expected to have some ideas on where to go to try, and you might not even know about certain features even existing. But what a client or an employer is looking for in a valuable Salesforce resource, or I'll even say, let's go back to the phrase I used before, indispensable member of the team, is someone who will enthusiastically take the problem that the business is experiencing, and even if their initial thought is, I have no clue if this is even possible, but then to take it to the next level of doing the research to see, does a feature like this exist within the Salesforce platform in order to solve the particular business problem that I'm faced with? Or what are the different ways that others have solved for this particular problem in the Salesforce platform? And by focusing that way, you will then, whether you come up with a dead end of nope, no such feature exists, or holy cow, this feature exists. I had no idea. We already have it available to us. And it's even available on the screen. We just need to use it in the following way. So I personally find that having that type of approach is far more impressive and far more impactful to the business versus being an individual who knows all the ins and outs of every Salesforce feature. And I think it's pretty safe to say there is not a single human being, including any Salesforce employee, that really knows the ins and outs of every single Salesforce feature, of even a single Salesforce product, any Salesforce product. And I say that because, as we know, 3 times a year, Salesforce comes out with new releases. There are features that are disappearing, there are features that are getting introduced, there are new products that are coming out, new integrations that come out. So whatever the answer might have been last week, that answer might not necessarily be the same this week to solve a particular business problem. So I would say, again, I'll put the question back up on the screen over here for those who haven't seen it. I would say, if there's a feature that you want to learn, or a new skill that you want to learn as it relates to Salesforce, or how to solve a particular problem within the Salesforce platform, I would say, by all means, go ahead and learn it, go ahead and pursue it, take it to the next level by making it as hands-on as you have the time and ability and interest to make it hands-on in a developer org. But that should be your goal. But other than that, I would not even have it as a goal to try and know every feature. You need to be comfortable simply knowing that you don't know, that there's a lot that you don't know, and also being transparent about it. And by the way, that gives you more credibility than anything else. I can't tell you how often, because it happens so incredibly often when I am working with various clients and various projects, and they're asking about a particular feature, and it might be an old legacy feature, not even anything brand new. By the way, I had this actually a couple of hours ago. I was working with a client where we were talking about out of the box, Salesforce email to case. By the way, a feature that I completely hate. There are a lot of reasons why I hate email. Anytime a client turns to me asking to turn on email to case, I cringe. I beg them, please, let's reconsider this, because you're going to get all kinds of random emails asking you if you're interested in investing in Bitcoin, and they're going to turn into cases, and all of the automation that you have about assigning those cases and alerting people of cases and turning them into records that will appear in your reports and dashboards. All of that spam will appear there. That's the abbreviated version of why I hate email to case. But the issue that they were having is email to case is already turned on. And the question was, why is it that one particular email that was sent in response to an email that was sent out from the case and already had the appropriate reference code, like the ID, that was in both the subject line and the body of the email, how come the reply email that was properly formatted, etc., did not make it into Salesforce to be either on the appropriate case or associated to the appropriate contact? And that's an old legacy feature that I don't think had any enhancement in the last probably 15 or more years. And client turned to me and asked me about it, and I'm like, I have no idea. This really should have worked. But you know what? There might be some nuances that I just don't recall, because I haven't looked at this particular feature in at least over 10 years. So I started Googling it while I was in a meeting with them, and I told them I was Googling it. I'm like, let's look to see what we're missing. By the way, I still have not come up with the answer to figure out why that particular scenario, why that email did not get logged into the case, or into Salesforce, I should say. Excuse me. But in the end, what the message that I'm trying to get across is, don't feel that level of expectation that you need to know about the ins and outs of every single feature available on the Salesforce platform. To learn more is fantastic. Absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of elevating your skill set and your education. Absolutely. But it should not become a burden, because you'll never be able to keep up. You won't be able to keep up with that fire hose of new features that are constantly coming out. Okay, Manuel's got a question here. What would you recommend to people learning Salesforce but living outside US, UK, EU so that they can get a Salesforce related job? Many Salesforce related jobs are remote. It does not matter where you're located. It is true that there are many companies located in the regions that you've specified. Salesforce has a mature saturation of customers within those geographic areas. But even still, companies in those geographic areas have remote employees, whether they are full time employees or part-time employees or consultants. So geographic location, as far as I'm concerned, geographic location is really not a limitation, especially when it comes to the Salesforce platform, because in the end, it's a cloud-based tool. So there's nothing that you could possibly do even if you were on site. It's not like you're opening up someone's computer with a hammer and a wrench and a screwdriver in order to fix or enhance something as it relates to Salesforce. It's all cloud-based, so it should not matter. So to that extent, Manuel, I would say simply look for job openings within the Salesforce ecosystem where it specifically says, it's a remote position, and there are many of them out there. By the way, I'll also excuse me, I'll also say with the pandemic, many companies that were not open to remote jobs are now completely embracing having team members that are working remote. CG's got a question. With salaries going up, how do I balance wanting to make more money and not being a job hopper? It took me like 6 months to understand my org, but I love money. Sorry for laughing. I think that's a good one. Thank you for the transparency. Honestly, in the world that we're living in, people, especially in the Salesforce ecosystem, as a business owner, as a manager, it is very challenging. People are changing jobs all the time. This is happening outside of the Salesforce ecosystem as well. I think it's a little bit more pronounced in the Salesforce ecosystem, primarily because there are so many companies that are embracing Salesforce and are realizing that they need people with better skills than the resources that they currently have available to them. And they're looking to hire more talented people, hire people with more experience, grow their current team to include additional individuals who are not on the team today. So it's very subjective in terms of how long you should wait before taking on that next role. And I totally agree with you to the point that you're making, where it took me like 6 months to understand my org. It's like, I want to feel that I'm getting something out of all the pain and suffering that I went through to understand the nuances of my existing org. I would say if you're finding an opportunity that is in addition to the money, or I should say besides the money should not be the only factor, where there are other elements associated to that job that make your current role seem like it's not even a comparison, then I would make the switch, even if you've only been in that current role for 6 months. Because if you found another role that's a better fit to where you want to be, and again, it's more than just money. Because the money, companies change their budgets all the time. It takes a swipe of the pen and nothing more to change a budget, and all of a sudden you could be out of a job just because of that. So it needs to be something more than just the money that is compelling you to make that switch. If you find that if you feel for yourself that this is justified, sadly, yeah, whether it's 6 months or 8 months or under a year, it used to not be the case whatsoever, but now it is incredibly common. So it's people move around all the time, including senior managers move around all the time. Sometimes they stay at a company for a year and then they just move on. So it's a little bit of a challenge. One has, I think the suggestion is for CJ, but I'll just call it out. You'd be very surprised how much you can learn compared to others in the organization that have never done it and just talking to be noticed in the meeting or the organization. Yes, it is very true. So many times people in a meeting they just want to hear their own voice. And sometimes they take over a meeting and it's like, can you please just shut up? Because nobody understands what you're saying, or all you're doing is talking about what you did at your last job. You're not there anymore, buddy. If you want to go back there, go back there, but you're somewhere else now. Stop talking about your prior job. This happens often. So yes. Okay. With that being said, it looks like we are at the top of the hour, and it looks like I don't have any other questions that you guys submitted. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope you found today's session helpful in order to help get your Salesforce career unstuck and advance your career in the direction that you want to take it. Thank you again for joining. See you next time. Bye-bye.